High school biology, anybody young enough to remember that? But the mitochondria don't repair themselves. And so what we're finding now with chronic disease, like Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and diabetes, and heart disease, is the cell breaks down and runs out of energy. And so sometimes that comes into play with chronic fatigue, but that's the issue. So it comes down to protecting our DNA, protect our cells. So sometimes the damage comes from the inside, where there's toxins or things that we take and eat and drink and overdrink and smoke, or sometimes it's from the outside, from chemicals and environmental exposures. And so many times we're okay being able to do that to a point, but then we get to a point where we can't offload all those toxins that it impacts us. And then heaven forbid you actually get an illness where you need radiation or chemotherapy, because that's how those things work. They break chromosomes and try to break the bad cells in the cancer, but then they also break the good ones too. Oh, and even the viruses. So there's actually now another study that actually confirmed like the HPV that we knew was related to cervical cancer. Now they've actually seen where, if you had any doubt about the vaccine and all the controversy, that the vaccine now has been shown to decrease the cancer rates now since they've implemented the vaccine. So it's coming at us from all sides. But we look at how do we protect our DNA, and look at that list. Those are all the things that were in the top of the list that cause aging. So we got to do all those things too, including calorie restriction. So calorie restriction is probably one of the most effective ways to help with longevity, help reduce inflammation. The cruel irony is, as we get older, we need less calories, but in general, we eat more calories. So we probably need 25% less, and we tend to eat 25% more, so that's a 50% delta right there. So there's no wonder why we're all gaining 5 to 10 pounds a year, once we reach adulthood. So another thing that we're looking at, let me back up for just a second, is telomere testing. So how do we look at that? So this is a way, since Nobel Prize winners in 2009 proved this, that you may have heard this, it's the little end caps to our chromosomes. So that's actually a very neat way now that we can actually measure the chromosomal health and biologic age. So we have some other markers, and this is a great way. So essentially, it's the end caps that protect your chromosomes. And we know that the ones that, when it wears down, the cells die, or they quit producing. But if we can keep the end caps on, then they can live longer. And some people think that if we fix that problem, then our life expectancy for what our bodies were designed is probably about 120 to 125 years. So there are people in longevity medicine, people really believe it. And we see that. There are more and more people living to be 100, and they really feel like that it's not unlikely that our expected age is going to be around 100 somewhere. Right now we're at 80, maybe 77, 78, 80 maybe. So it's not surprising that will happen. So they're basically protected, but we know that as your cells divide over time, they break down. And so that's part of what limits our life, but that's also what maybe turn off cancer cells as well. So the cancer cells, they turn on, they have a lot of what we call telomerase, the enzyme, and so that makes them continue to divide. So as the cell gets older, the telomeres get less. But look at all the things that make your telomeres short and impact that. It's all the same list again, right? It's smoking, it's oxidation, it's obesity, it's nutrition, activity, it's hormonal balance, it's stress, it's sleep deprivation. It's all those things. And that's our DNA. That's really where we got to get at to help with anti-aging. So how do you do that? It's like, oh my God, my telomeres are breaking, my chromosomes are breaking down. But all the things that we do for anti-aging health, and all the things that Marcy and Brian do, and even nutritionally. So this is just an example of all the things nutritionally that impact that help to improve your DNA health and telomere health. So I'm going to do a little short case here. And so successful guy, high stress job, comes for his executive health physical. Everything looks pretty good. But then we take a look at his telomeres. And so when we look at this, just to show you, so the big black line is sort of the average of where you would expect. That's the mean. So you at least want to be average, right? No one wants to be below average, right? And probably most of you are above average, right? We took a poll, everybody's above average, right? All the kids in my kids class are all above average. So, but he's down, he's down there. And so we draw that line across, and so everything appears on the surface, but he's got a biologic age of 80, he's 54. So what's going on with that? So that helps us kind of decide, how much do we need to dig? Is this really congruent with what I'm seeing? So we do the initial evaluation, we look at things, if everything looks together, then he's probably doing all the good things that he needs to do. That's matching his genetics. But if the telomere's not good and the lifestyle's not good, then we know where we have to work. We know where to start. We have plenty of room to go with that. But if the telomeres are poor and everything seems okay, then we've got to go look at there's something else going on. And it's that same sort of silent illness, silent inflammation that we've got to go after, because that's going to resurface and sometimes unexpectedly. Half of everybody that has a heart attack and dies outside of the hospital and had no other symptoms before. That's the first symptom, is sudden death. You wake up and there you are. So there's something's going on, right? I want to know. I'm figuring it out for me. I want to do that for other people too. So how do we do this? Figure this out. So screening for early disease, and some of it's not like NASA science kind of stuff. It's the stuff that we should all be doing. You're approaching 50, you should get your colonoscopy. Women should get their mammograms, should get the pap smears when they are supposed to. Men should get their prostates checked. All those kind of things because we can catch it early. So the regular preventive medicine stuff still works, but a lot of us still aren't even doing that part. We're not even doing the advanced side. Nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, stress management, and it's a life balance. So we know that mind, body, spirit is really important. So when that's incongruent, then we have a lot more stressors, and we see the stress-related illness. And so we're all, there's all a spiritual part of all of us, whatever your personal belief is, and the people that have the worst time are the people that just ignore it. We have to acknowledge that piece somewhere. And there's a good study that shows it changes our brain chemistry, our brain waves, and our body chemistry, and hormone optimization, obviously. So screen for disease, all these things are the normal sort of stuff that you should be doing. Some of the lab work we do are kind of specialized that we do because we're looking for the predictors. I like to call what I do interventional preventive medicine, because I'm looking early, and I'm going to do something about it when I catch it early. And that's probably true. If someone is not going to do anything with it, then they probably shouldn't be tested. From a functional medicine standpoint, and so that's our approach. So when I look at the same labs, and people will bring me their labs that they've had done, I'm looking for optimal. I don't want just normal. We're very strict many times in medicine about it's black or it's white. We try and it's this whole art of medicine, but we get down to that, it's a number, right? It's either it is or it isn't. Either you're in or you're out. It's in that range or not in that range. Either you met your goal or you didn't meet your goal, right? And so, but we look for optimizing. So my acceptable ranges are more narrow for what we want, and they're scientifically based. I'm not doing it just because I am trying to do good, but I'm looking at what are the studies that show what's your best risk reduction for that. So vitamin D is a good example. So they say 30 is okay, but we know that there are multiple studies that show really you need a level in the 50s, probably 54, and then you have got the best risk reduction for a whole host of things, and many of them cancers. So vitamin D is very important for overall health, immune health, and not just bone health. You realize the recommended daily allowance for vitamin D is actually based on rickets. And so you can be very low for that. And so we have a lot of room to go with that. So when we talk about optimal nutrition, so it's not a diet. So many times people will come and say, what kind of diet are you going to put me on? Well, I don't put anybody on a diet. Misty, have you ever put anybody on a diet? No. Nope. We teach lifestyle, because that's really what's going to stick. That's really what needs to happen, and gradual. And like even for weight loss, if people want weight loss, sure we do that, if not a quick weight loss center. That's the slow weight loss center. Because we want people to change the lifestyle gradually, and those people do the best. So it's a mixture of these things. Somewhere between Mediterranean and paleo. Paleo basically is excluding grains, and it's going back to a simpler kind of diet. And organic meats, if you're going to eat meats, lots of vegetables, fruits, kind of back to that again, and low glycemia.